Hi there, welcome back to my channel. This is Mostly Crafty. My name is Laura and my pronouns are she, her. This is Flosstube number 2. If you're new here, thanks for joining. You haven't missed much. If you watched Flosstube number 1, thanks for coming back. I hope you like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram at Mostly Crafty. Today's January 4th. I just filmed my 2025 finished parade and now I'll do a WIP parade and also maybe give some suggestions of what you could do for plans for this year and what some of my plans are. So I'm gonna start with my oldest WIP to my newest WIP. I'm not a big, I don't have start-itis usually. I'm not a big WIP girl. I did not know that you could stitch on more than one project until I started watching Flosstube. So I'm mostly not quite a monogamous stitcher, but I usually have a focus project and then stitch on other things throughout the month for like stitch alongs or different, events and that sort of stuff. So my first project is, I call it the Disco Ball of Doom. It's called Colorful Disco Ball. I found it on Etsy. Yeah, that's the right way up. I'm stitching this on 18 ? 16 count easy grid Ada. I don't know. I started it like in March sometime. Before I had Markup RXP, I was just really stitching on vibes, trying to get all these colors in. There are 64 colors in this, which is too many colors. I am roughly 52% of the way done. So when I got Markup, I loaded this PDF in. It is a total of 15,146 stitches, and I roughly marked off what I had already done and then went back and have kept up with that so far. I'm still finding stitches that I've already done as I go through this, but eventually I will finish this. This is going to be, if we're talking plans, this is going to be my focus project in February. I'm going to try to do #NoMoreBirthdays, like bendy stitches Michelle does. And I would like to finish this by the end of March so it does not go past 1 year old too much. This is Monster House by Satsuma Street. It was originally a stitch along, although I bought the pattern last spring sometime. Started stitching on this in July. I love stitching on this. It's super fun. I haven't really put any in since October, but it is like such a fun stitch. The total on this is 14,364 stitches. I've got about 7,600, so I'm 53%. This is a 28 count vintage ivory linen from my mom's stash, or I got it on Buy Nothing. I've since bought more of it on eBay because I really like how loose and soft it is. I dyed this purple myself. I will say I did not leave a huge margin, especially on the side. I'm as far as I am, maybe on this side, I can't remember, but there's not a ton of margin on this. So, but I love stitching on this. I'm hoping to bring this out for halfway to Halloween in April, maybe also on the 13th or the 31st of each month. We'll see. Again, Satsuma Street, that's the call for DMCs. Next up, this is my Mirabilia. I did not iron it. I will put a picture up of what it's supposed to look like. This is Portrait of Lady M by Mirabilia. I do not love this. Here's how I found it. I had never heard of a Mirabilia. I did not know what that was. I didn't know the vibes, right? Until I started watching Cross Stitch the Globe and the Huga Stitcher and some other folks talking about Mirabilias. When Nora Corbett launched her 250th pattern, Portrait of Lady M, I saw the stripes in the dress and I was like, I need to stitch that. I'm a blue and white stripe girly. I have a ton of Breton stripes. I love a stripe, and I was like, this is the Mirabilia for me. So I bought it. I kitted up immediately, and I started it in my birthday, in August for my birthday stitch. This is how far I am. So I have 4,981 stitches Why didn't I just stitch the 5,000? I don't know. I'm 15.1% complete. It has 32,979 stitches. This is 32 count Icelandic blue linen by Zweigart from 123 Stitch, and I'm doing the called for DMC. I don't have all the cry neck. I haven't started the beads or anything. Here's why I don't like it. First of all, this is not blue, this is purple. It's not even reading blue. The threads don't read blue. I don't think it'll ever read blue. It's a lot of brown. For the longest time, I probably put a picture in. I had like major turkey vibes from what I had done. I don't like it. So this was my Nora November project, a focus project in November. I haven't stitched on it since then. I'll do Mirabilia May or something, and I'll finish it, but I don't love it. Oh well. Next up is a Nora Corbett that I do love. I don't know where I put it. Stand by. So this is a Nora Corbett pattern that I do like, and I'll show it in just a second. I don't have project bags for any of these. They're literally in just piles. I keep them just in my desk. I use this Orakili, I don't know if it's just like a makeup tote that I got at the bins for, I don't know, $3. I use this as like my stitch and go case. Whenever I travel on a plane, I will put the piece and the flosses for my master set and all of my accoutrements in here. And then if the hoop fits in there, great. Otherwise, I'll put it in just like a plastic bag or something and carry it with me on the plane. This is Winter's Folly by Nora Corbett. It's a Nora Corbett pattern. I love this pattern, and I can see why people would stitch these over a Mirabilia. I bought this pattern from Stephanie, Cross Stitch to Globe, in a D-stash, and this is what's hilarious. I was in Cleveland. I started this at my friend Samantha's house when I was there for a vacation, and I brought the DMC and was like, oh, I need the Karen water lilies. Like I hadn't bought that yet, and I didn't realize how little DMC there was and how much water lilies there was. Like this blue, one of these greens, the border, that's all Karen water lilies. And so I was at her house and I was like adding them to my cart, and I thought, you know what, I should just get the beads while I'm at it. And I literally like landed home and was on Etsy like the next morning shopping, and I brought up like my past orders. I was like, oh, there's the pattern I bought from Stephanie. And in the picture, it has like a pack of beads. I bought it with the bead pack. I just completely forgot. So now I have double when I get to that. But I love stitching on this. I love stitching houses, I think. I really loved the Witchy Stitchers Victorian haunt house that I showed in my finished parade. I just love doing like recognizable objects, I think. So I really like this. There's 4,600 stitches in this. I'm 56% complete. Actually, let me rephrase. There are 4,600 squares in the pattern. I have 2,584 marked off, so I'm 56% complete. That includes beads. I have the beads tracked as stitches in my pattern, so I know how many there are. So I'm almost done with the stitching. This was my second focus piece for Nora November. I really love this. It is, I think, also a 32 count. I think it's also the Witchell. I think it's Sapphire. Nope, I lied. This is Graceful Gray. It reads more green. It reads more blue in person, but it reads more green in photos, but it's the called for linen. All right. My next project is something I'm doing something a little special for. I know a lot of stitchers, like Recovering Monogamous Stitcher, do a snow day stitch. And I think Jen's Fiberweb also does a snow day stitch. Well, it does not snow here where I live in Seattle. It snows in the mountains, but it does not snow. If it does snow, we're hosed because there's like one snowplow in the whole city. So I can't do a snow day stitch. I would never stitch on it. can't do a rainy day stitch because it rains literally every day. So I thought, well, I'll do a sunny day stitch, and I'll start it like in the big dark when it's dark all of the time, and then I'll stitch on it about the same number of times as someone with a snow day stitch. JK, I have stitched on this so many days. So I'm doing, let me get it the right way up. I'm doing Blueberry J by Jed X Stitch. I love Jessica's patterns. I've stitched Summer's Day to completion, and then I have another WIP of hers I'll show in a few minutes. This is 11,657 stitches. I'm so far 1,000 stitches in, so 8.67%. However, I started this December 13th, and I stitched on it 8 days in December, and then already one day in January, and I owe another day for today because it was sunny today as well. So yeah, that's right. So I'm gonna finish this way sooner than I thought. I'm stitching on the cold for malachite. I think it's probably a 28 count. It might be a 32 count. I can't see without my magnifier, so I can't stitch on the called for 40 count. There's no way I'll ever be able to see it. But I love that stitch, and I'm doing it in the called for DMC with the 2 Threadworks colors. And then the next project I started is a Satsuma Street, and this is Peace and Light. I'll put a picture up to show what it will look like. This is a Hanukkah pattern. I started this, I think it was Jen's Fiberweb that I saw start it after the Bondi Beach massacre attack. And I thought that I would want to stitch on something just to like, I don't know, kind of memorialize them and like put some hope and peace into the world. So I started that during Hanukkah. I stitched on it through the end of December, beginning of January. It's 5,664 stitches total. I've done 593, so 10%. So I'll probably put this away until next December-ish. This is, it's an 18 count Ada that I dyed blue. This is the blue I dyed for Liz Matthews' Cardinal Patreon project, that when I realized it was 14,000 stitches, I was like, nope, I noped right out. So this is Holiday House. You can see it right here. Actually, I have 4 of hers going. I lied. This was a stitch along that started in August, September. I will put a picture here. I did not start this until Christmas Day, or right after Christmas Day, basically. I wanted to start it because I loved Monster House so much, but I also knew that like there was no way I would ever get it complete. It's 17,082 stitches, so it's significantly larger than, it's 3,000 stitches more than Monster House. I'm stitching this the same linen as Monster House, which I dyed light blue myself. I was going for like a teal aquamarine, the kind of color that Adelaide stitches on a lot. I did not get that, but it's fine. I'm in the Facebook group. A lot of people stitch on roughly this color. Jody says don't stitch it on white because there's a lot of white in the pattern and it'll ghost. So I'm stitching this on this light blue. It's 28 count with the called for DMC. I'm 5% into this. So I've been kind of stitching on it off and on the past couple days. I might try to finish out this block and then put it away till Christmas in July, or I don't know, next Christmas. So those are my 2025 WIPs. I'm going into 2026 with 7 WIPs. I had 20 finishes in 2025, so that's not bad. I have already started 4 projects. So while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and show you my 4 projects and talk a little bit about my plans and how I'm thinking about 2026. So let me grab those. In terms of 2026 projects, I have 4 that I've already started this year. Sounds insane, but they have reasons behind them. I have some plans for other things that I want to stitch, but mostly I do a focus project for the month that I stitch on every day or almost every day, and then layer in you know, a seasonal stitch or a small or something thematic for, you know, the holiday or a start along or whatever. So I already have some stuff going for January. I am doing WIP Go. I've never done it before. And I'm doing it because I only have 7 WIPs. I'm doing it kind of like a start and go instead of a WIP, just WIPs, but trying to think about like what other types of projects I could work on or start, or like skills that I could learn. So for 2026, I've already, the numbers called are 2 and 7. And if you're not familiar with WIP Go, it's a game created by Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and she calls out different, that's my dog, different numbers, and they correspond to different works in progress that you have kind of on a bingo style game board. She also has a new game called Milestone Manor, which is like milestones that you could do, and it's more of a dice roll game. That seems pretty cool. I don't know that I have the mental bandwidth to like think about how I want to play that right now. Come for the cross stitch, stay for my dog knocking over my ring light. This is much harder than I thought, honestly. I did not think I would have my dog interrupting me quite so much. WIP Go numbers for January are 2 and 7. So 2 was a black work project. I think I'm gonna do an ornament from the 2024. I think there's a black work project in this Just Cross Stitch magazine. Might have been 2025, but I love doing black work. And then 7 was Summer Quaker. I'm also doing this as the incentive sal by Catherine at Accounting My Stitches. She created the sal to do like get a certain number of stitches for every hour of an audiobook she listened to. I'm doing it as bonus stitches for like extra yoga classes or workouts that I do beyond my normal ones that I've been doing. So I have a small start. I have roughly 100 stitches. There's 26,000 stitches, so you could do the math. I'm practically no stitches on this. Regardless, I'll get 1,000 in for the month. That's kind of my goal. I'm stitching this on, this is linen that I thrifted. I have no idea what it is. It's like an ivory color. It measures between a 29 and a 30-ish count. So yeah, it'll be huge on this, but using the call for DMC so far. The next project that I'm working on, and this is my focus project for January, is a blessing sampler. Although I'm thinking about it more as an intention sampler, just because I'm not religious. I had a hard time finding a pattern that I would want to stitch. My criteria for an intention sampler was it needed to be less than 6,000 stitches. In general, I stitch 9,000 to 10,000 stitches a month, so I didn't want that to be the only thing that I stitched. And then I wanted something non-religious. Other blessing sampler ideas that I kind of wrote down were Heartstring Samplery, All Will Be Well. They have a choose your own motto stitch, which is 205 by 171. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that every designer should put the total number of stitches in a pattern so that you can know how many you're in for a month. I also liked Modern Folk Embroidery's Jane Austen, There's Nothing Like Staying at Home for Real Comfort. That's 8,400 stitches. The Quaker Love, Peace, and Tenderness, that's 6,900 stitches. Quaker Peace to My Friend, that's 15,000 stitches, but you could remove the alphabet and make it significantly smaller. Stitchrovia on Etsy has Do More of What You Love, Happiness is Homemade, and Open Your Heart to New Adventures. All of those, I don't have the total stitch count, but they seemed medium-sized. And then I saw by Hillary Jordan stitching a summer camp 2026 blessing sampler today. So what I ended up picking was a modern folk embroidery piece called Laura's Frisian Sampler. That seemed apt because my name is Laura. It was, excuse me, originally offered as a PDF through, I think, Evertote only, and they had it on Etsy for 2025 through Threads of Unity. as a fundraiser. So I grabbed that. I'll put a picture here. This is, let's count the number of stitches. This is under 4,000 stitches. It's 3,900 and change. This is how far I am right now. I'm 659 stitches in, so 16.74%. I've been stitching on this every day. I'm cruising along. I will definitely finish this by the end of January. This is the same fabric I used for the Witchy Stitcher House. 35 count, antique lamb's wool, Zweigart linen. And I did a total floss conversion. Jacob's colors are terrific. They are not my style. So I went into my mom's stash and my rule was, okay, I've been seeing this bright pink peeking out of the bags for ages. And I was like, okay, I'm grabbing that. I'm grabbing this pink and let's go from there. And so I found a Pinterest palette with similar colors and went from there. The next WIP I have to show is something I'm doing for a full moon stitch. So this idea is from Stephanie at Cross Stitch the Globe and Jen at Jen's Fiberweb. In 2025, they did, I think it's a Tiny Modernist moon phase bell pull where they stitch on during the full moon. And I thought that's a cool idea. I need something smaller because I don't stitch a ton. I'm not a fast stitcher at all. And I wanted a Jet X stitch pattern because I love Jessica's patterns. And she has Witch's Road for the Agatha All Along TV show. And this has moons in it. So I started this yesterday, January 3rd, for the full moon stitch. I got 385 stitches in, which is 8.9%. It's 4,325 stitches. I need to get 360-ish to get it done by the end of the year. There are 13 moons in 2026. So I'm right on the number of stitches. Stitching with the called for from stash so far. I think I had to go up one color in that kind of purpley brown. I'm not going to buy anything for this. I'm stitching this on 28 count vintage ivory linen that I dyed blue. I actually dyed this for the, it's over there, the Holiday House Sal project I'm working on from Satsuma Street. I took this color with me to Florida. I started stitching, and wouldn't you know, the colors were already ghosting. It's just like too much the same. And I made that mistake on Jet X Stitches Summer Day. I said, no more. So I ripped that out and then decided to use it for this pattern. The called for, do I have the called for in here? The called for is 40 count sage linen. I don't stitch on 40 count. I had some greeny things, but this seemed like a pretty color and that it would look great. So I like this so far. It's stitching up very fast and is pretty fun. My last WIP that I have going in January is a temperature stitch. I've seen a lot of temperature stitches. They're fine. This one I was going to do with a friend. She sort of backed out. It's fine. It's Local Conditions by Satsuma Street. I love it because it's not like the stars or something else. I thought it was a really cool pattern. So far I have 2 of the 4 days stitched, so not a lot. This is a, what count is this? I think 18 count Ada. Anyway, I dyed it pink a while ago, pinky orange, and I said, yeah, that's great. So I will keep stitching on that. The total is 5,800 stitches. I have 33 so far, so 0.5%. In terms of other plans for 2026, I'll continue to do my WIP Go. I mentioned Summer Quaker and a black work have already been called. Other types of things on my WIP Go board are my Mirabilia stitch and my disco ball. I also have any pattern from a book, any vintage magazine pattern, any Mill Hill kit, which I would need to buy, start and finish any ornament. So that could be a Halloween or a Christmas ornament. Winter Moth by the Blue Flower that just came out at Jingle Ball. Stitch on any prim pattern. I'm not really a prim pattern stitcher, so that would be kind of branching out a little bit. Another pattern from my Les Brodeuses Parisiennes. I bought like 4 patterns from them. It's mostly alphabets, but that would be, you know, fun to stitch on. Also, my oldest WIP or my closest WIP to finish. So we'll see how those get called. There's a couple other projects kind of worked in there that might get called as well. In terms of month-to-month plans, in February, my focus piece will be my disco ball, plus a shaded stitchery pattern from Nuri. I just won one from Cross Stitch the Globe. I think it's closely kept. It's either 2 or 5. So I'll need to kit that up and stitch that. April will be halfway to Halloween, so I'll continue to work on Monster House as well as any other Halloween patterns that come up. May, I'll work on Lady M by Mirabilia. I don't foresee myself doing any other Mirabilia pattern, but you know, you never know. June, I'll do the Strawberry Moon Sal that is hosted by Marjorie Maid. I'm really excited about that. I don't have a pattern picked out. If WIPGO calls the prim pattern in June, that would be ideal because I know there's a lot of like Plum Street patterns that have strawberries in them. That's also a new designer to me. July, I would like to stitch something patriotic. Ideally, for the Blessing Sampler, I would have done like kind of a patriotic themed Blessing Sampler, but I couldn't find any that seemed to match the vibes right now. A lot of them say freedom, justice, you know, liberty, and I didn't feel like those are happening at this moment. So I didn't stitch any of those. I do have a pattern from Hello from Liz Matthews. It's called Home Tweet Home, but it's kind of like stars and stripesy. It's got red, white, and blue. So I might stitch that unless other folks release, you know, some 250th anniversary patterns that are a little bit more in the vibe of what I'm feeling. August is my birthday month, so I will pick a fun pattern. Hopefully, you know, Jet X Stitch has something from Nashville Market that's amazing. We'll see. I'll also just start Halloween stitching in like July, like I did last year, and stitch that through the end of October. Finish Monster House, probably do some witchy stitchers. There's a great pattern in Creepy Cross Stitch that says witch. That's like an oval. I really love that too. And then, you know, start my holiday patterns in November, December. Work on Holiday House. I have a ton of ornaments and baubles, and I'm sure something else terrific will come up. So those are my 2026 plans and the WIPs that I've already started. I'd love to know what you're starting. If you have any ideas or start-alongs that you would want to, that you're planning on joining, just let me know in the comments down below. You can follow me on here or on Instagram. I'm @mostlycrafty. And thanks for joining my second Flosstube. Have a good one.